welcome. Morgan, you can advance the slide. Being here means you are part of our monthly AI workshop webinar series. This idea that like we're living in an age of just fast-paced, AI everything. I feel like I can't have a conversation with a business owner these days without touching on something related to AI. And a lot of it's theoretics, some of it's hype, but then a lot of it is like, okay, great. How are you implementing AI inside of your small organization? And small business has a very different challenge than I think like tech or enterprise does. It's how do we do things that actually move the needle? How do we implement things that have staying power? What do we implement? What do we not implement? How do we think about security issues? How do we think about who owns what? How do we think about our data? So there's just so many great questions. And so this is a part of our series to dive into those questions. And the one rule we have is for each of our guest presenters is let's stay out of the theoretics. There's plenty of that online. Let's get into real world use cases. Let's make this a workshop series. Share your screen and let's get into the guts of how can a business owner or operator leverage AI? What are some best practices? What are some cool use cases that are worth showing? And maybe if you walk away inspired, maybe you can go implement something similar or identical into your own business. So at a minimum, our hope is that it's interesting and kind of expands your knowledge of AI. But at a maximum, our hope is that you learn some workflows in this series that you can go and directly implement into your own business. So that's what the Durable AI Workshop webinar series is about. Our next one is in August, and that will be published soon. Morgan, go ahead and advance to the next slide. This series is part of Durable creating what we call Utah's Business Commons. The idea of every great city once had a common square, a place for people to gather, exchange ideas, trade. And we believe small business owners need that in the state of Utah. How do we navigate business ownership together? They say it's lonely at the top. So we put together curated peer groups and masterminds. We do private dinners. We do educational workshops like this. So this is one out of maybe 5+ events that we're doing on a monthly basis. Anything from private dinners to happy hours to peer group sessions to fireside chats. And so if you're here, you're likely already part of Durable's community, and we're grateful that you are. If you know a business owner looking for community, you know where to send them. Morgan, go ahead and advance the slide. I am one of the founders of Durable. My name is Chase Murdoch, and I help run our AI workshop webinar series, mostly because I'm really passionate about this topic as well. As it feels like I saw a tweet once. It was like it's like you need to be unemployed to have enough time to keep up with all of the AI movement today. And it's a fascinating topic, and I've seen some use cases that are just really powerful. And I personally struggle with like, how do I decide how much time to spend on this? How do I decide what to implement? How do I decide what to not implement and let people figure out and get it to the state where it's ready before we implement it? And so part of my passion for this is navigating that personally. And I know other business owners are up against the same questions and the same challenges. Morgan, you can advance the slide. 3 ways to engage in Durable is most of you are probably already subscribed to the Durable Dispatch. This is our twice monthly email series that goes out to about 1,500 business owners around the state of Utah. Sharing practical tips. Our event calendar, which is the second way you can join, is we host a variety of curated events every month. Or we have peer groups, which we'll tell you about a little bit more at the end of the call. But we're at 12:09, and I'd love to get as much time over to our guests as possible. Morgan, go ahead and hit next. Today's guests, I'm really excited about. Sorry, one more click there, Morgan. Really excited about this because one of them is a close friend of mine who's been a part of Durable's community for over a year. It's Adam Frederico on the right. If you click next, Morgan, we'll get everyone's names here. We've also got 2 experts in the world of AI and helping businesses navigate AI today. From Sage Creek, we have Connor, who's one of the partners, and we have Bob, who's the CTO at Sage Creek. Guys, we're really grateful to have you. You've told me a little bit about what you have prepared today. I'm excited to see it. So without further ado, Connor, Bob, why don't you two introduce yourselves and let's go ahead and kick this session off.
Yeah, I can go. Oh, I can go first, Bob, and then I'll pass it over to you. So I'm Connor McLeod. I'm one of the partners here with Bob and Greg Butterfield and Travis Wilson at Sage Creek. over the last few years, we've had a growth stage advisory of sorts with Greg and Travis, where we were doing fractional leadership. And as you can imagine, just like Chase shared, everyone has wanted to hear more about AI. So my background is product management with AI products at Ancestry, JP Morgan Chase, and from startups. And so as we did that, we started a AI consultancy on top of the growth stage advisory in the family office. And in that process, we've found that a lot of folks, even in their implementation, when they talk about their implementations, it's quite theoretical, just like Chase called out, and Twitter is full of this, and LinkedIn. And our number one thing that we found is it's a lot harder to actually grow revenue directly or expand your EBITDA with AI than just giving people Claude or ChatGPT or what have you. And so in the process, we've started doing that and found kind of a larger vision. We still do some AI consulting and implementation, but largely we're focused on AI-enabled underwriting and acquisition of small and medium-sized businesses. So that's me, Bob. You don't hear a lot from me today. Bob's going to be doing the training. Bob's got a PhD in educational psychology and technology, as well as data science. So you are in good hands. So really appreciate it, Adam, the introduction to Chase, and Chase for you having us here.
Cool. Thanks, Connor. I'm Bob Bodley. Connor gave brief background on me. I've been a data engineer, data scientist for a long time. I've built a lot of different companies. I have a very large graveyard of interesting projects that never really saw the light of day. But that's really fun for me. I've been following along on the AI side since the early days. 2015, 2016 through my PhD, I was doing some word to vec, natural language processing work. And then the subsequent model was the transformer from the Google employees. And that's kind of what started the improvements on the large language model, the LLM side. And so Connor's been trying to get me over to do work with him for a while, even like as recent as a year and a half ago. And the models just weren't good enough. And then starting in January, I did another deep dive, and it was like a paradigm shift in model capability. AI is so good today compared to 6 months ago, compared to even 3 or 4 months ago, that you can automate 95% of junior level roles and responsibilities. And so that's what Connor and I do. We go in and we audit companies, and we find where AI can actually drive margin expansion or can drive revenue for companies. And so it's really fun. So that's a brief intro on my end. And Chase, I'm guessing we can just jump right in.
Before you jump in, I'll share about Bob. Bob and I met. He was building a company, doing some educational stuff during his PhD. And we, after working together on that, found out that he is my wife's first cousin, which was great. And then when Bob says I tried to bring him over 18 months ago now, Bob?
Yeah.
18 months ago, I felt like I was as close as I'd ever been in 10 years convincing him to work with me on something. And he said, well, I've got one more idea on this business that I need to try. And so he tried that, and it was a crypto blockchain exchange, similar to maybe like a Coinbase or something. And he stuck with it because last year his exchange did $1 billion in transaction volume, largely Bitcoin based. So Bob's legit. I always got to hype up Bob. I'm the ultimate hype man over here. Feel like I had to get that in. And I don't know if we want to introduce Adam really quick too. I think maybe a lot of you know Adam, but Adam, do you want to do a quick intro?
Just 10 seconds. Yeah, been a long time Chase Murdoch follower. I'm in the peer groups and part of Durable. And separately worked with Connor on quite a few things in my own business. So yeah, I'm here just as a small business owner, dabbling in AI as well.
Cool.
Awesome, guys. Well, Adam, thanks for originating this idea. I think you're kind of the perfect case study for what we want these workshops to be about, which is you've been dabbling directly. You've been learning, some things have been working, some things have not been working, and that is the origin story of today's workshop. And so, Adam, glad you're here. Connor, thanks for making this happen. Bob, why don't you take us away with that backdrop in place?
Cool. Yeah, sounds great. All right, I think we have chat. Can people type in the chat? Chase, do we have chat enabled on this call?
Chat is enabled, so yes, people can drop questions and comments as you're going.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to make sure, because it's always better when you come to one of these, if you can ask questions as we're going along. Like if you have a question, it's likely that half of you have the same question, and so please feel free to throw questions in the chat. If you have questions about AI or AI in specific industries, or where you think it's going to go in the next 3 to 6 months, or how to get started, or anything, like just any AI questions, drop them in the chat. I like to do a more interactive presentation because it just provides more value to those that are here. And if you have questions, it's we should address them because it's going to be more beneficial to everyone else that's going to watch this. So please feel free to drop questions in the chat. To start, I always like to get a sense for the AI capabilities of the room. So if you can, go to the chat and give me like a yes, no on if you have ever built a website using AI. So this is like a landing page. This is something where you've gone in and maybe it's Claude Code, maybe it's, Codex, but you've actually deployed Lovable. Yeah, that's great. Deployed a website using AI in some fashion. Looks like we have the majority yes, which is fantastic. Okay, do we have anyone that has, let's call it like a workflow or some kind of AI automation that they run every day? Some like automated AI automation. So this is like a workflow that you've built that is running. Maybe it's like pulling data for you. Maybe it's doing some other kind of thing. So just quick yes, no in the chat. Who do we have that has done? Okay. Cloud routines, great. Hermes cron jobs, that's great. Marketing data, okay. A lot of automation tools. Okay, what about terminal views? How many of you use like Claude Code or Codex directly in the terminal versus like an app interface or something like that? Okay, some terminal users here. Okay, looks like mostly app-based usage. Okay, and then let's do a quick industry check. So just type in, where you work. Maybe it's home services, maybe it's roofing, maybe it's landscaping, maybe it's fiber, maybe it's solar, maybe it's a tech company. Give me a quick lay of the land on the. All right. Roofing, M&A, recruiting, financial, transportation, hospitality, AI fractional, business consulting, M&A. Okay, this is great. All right, let me share my screen. Let me just drop this in the chat first. So I put together a slide presentation. Obviously I built it with AI because who would I be if I didn't, build websites for my presentations on AI. It's learning by doing. I didn't grab a URL. Sometimes I'll get a custom URL, but this is just a Vercel subdomain. So learning by doing.vercel.app, you should be able to click there. And this is the, core substance of the presentation today. I call it learning by doing. I have a PhD in educational technology and instructional design. And so the best way to learn is to learn by actually doing. So today, my goal is hopefully you all have access. It sounds like you all have access to AI tools based on the work that you've been doing. So, pull up your preferred AI tool. Maybe it's ChatGPT, maybe it's Claude, maybe it's Copilot, or maybe it's Gemini, or maybe it's Composer, or some other AI tool. But we are going to be doing a few different exercises today. So pull that up, and then let me just share my screen, and we will start going through this. Can everyone see my screen okay? Are we good?
We got it.
Perfect. All right. So hands-on AI for your business. Let me just click through. Okay, so a lot of people talk about AI. A lot of people talk about the AI hype. Like Chase mentioned, we're here to talk about how to use tools specifically for doing AI work. And this is something that a lot of you have already done. And so we might be able to, skip across the easier use cases here. So instead of just using it as a chat, let's use chat plus tools. Let's connect your tools, whether it's email or calendar or actually building things, and then let's actually do real work. So the goal today, this is a working session. We're going to be working today to try to do something for your business, whether you're starting a business or already have a business. So I put together 10 different challenges. These are challenges that should provide immediate value for your business. And then I have 3 different levels of integration. So some people come in and they've never integrated tools, and you might not want to go through the whole setup process of connecting your email or connecting your calendar, but maybe you do. So we're going to pick some challenges, and we're going to just dive in immediately into the work. Again, if you run into questions, drop them in the meeting chat. I'll be monitoring that as much as I can. And then the goal is for us to actually dive in and do a couple of these together. I'll be doing one in parallel with all of you, and then we can, come back and learn from each other. So there are 3 different levels. It sounds like most of you have, done some good automations. Level 1, you can just use your default chat. So Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, maybe it's the app interface, maybe it's the web interface. It could even be the terminal interface, and that's great. So that's level 1. If you do have some tools connected like email and calendar, I have some level 2 challenges where you'll actually pull in your relevant data and start to do things with them. And then there's a level 3, which is more advanced. So, let's connect up multiple tools together and start to leverage those in advanced workflows. I didn't want to force you to do connections because it can just we could spend 20 minutes trying to get people set up here. So, you can start wherever you are right now. Come as you are. All right. So to start, this is the very first challenge that I want to do because I think it's relevant to everyone that's running a business, and it has to do with knowing your competition. And so I want everyone to pull up your favorite AI tool. Make sure that web search is on, and then there are a couple places where you need to personalize. So this is the prompt. Again, I shared the link. It's just learningbydoing.vercel.app. So you can go and you can navigate over to this screen. I can also copy paste this prompt into the chat directly if you're not following along. So there's the prompt, just dropped it into the chat. So the goal here is to learn from our competitors. This is, challenge number 1 that I think would be helpful. So, fill in, I run a roofing business, and I run it in, Provo, Utah, or Salt Lake City, Utah. Rough annual revenue, city, region, and then use this prompt. Using web search, find 5 companies that are true comparables, same industry, similar customers, similar size. And then for each one, find what they sell, who they target, how they position themselves, pricing, if visible, what customers say in reviews and anything notable about their marketing. Then build a comparison table of them and me and my business across those dimensions, and finish with the 3 most important things this comparison says about my business, where I'm ahead, where I'm exposed, and one move worth considering. So this is, a decent prompt setup to go in and start to understand your business. So the goal today to start, so this is challenge number 1. I want us all to run this right now. And I will also run it on my end. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I'm going to probably go into terminal view just so you can see the way that I like to work. Okay, so everyone should have the prompt. You can, it's highly preferred for you to do this exercise yourself for your company right now. We'll come back in and kind of, share pros and cons as we go. But in the meantime, I'll kind of show you how I work. I like to work from the terminal view, probably because I'm a little bit more techie. And so it just gives me more flexibility. I'm probably going to use, do we still have Fable today? Let's see, I think it might not go away until later today. So let's see if we have Fable. Yeah, I think we still have Fable. Okay, I'm gonna use Fable today. So this is Claude Code, Fable 5 with extra high effort. Part of my Claude Max plan. So I'm just in a test directory here.
Can you zoom in? Can you zoom in a little bit?
Is it too small?
Oh, that's good right there.
Okay. Okay, well, this is the terminal interface for Claude Code. If you haven't used Claude Code, Fable is fantastic, Fable 5. This is how I like to work. Let's see, I can paste in, well, I'm going to have to edit that prompt first. Okay. Let's see, should I do this for me or should I do it? Yeah, I'll probably do it for me. All right, I am CTO of an AI consulting company called Sage Creek AI. Website is Sage Creek AI. And then we do a few $100,000 a year in consulting revenue right now. And we just started in March. We also are looking into, we also are working toward a roll-up factory model where we acquire companies, improve margins with AI, drive revenue with AI, and then roll up additional companies into a larger entity to cash flow or sell. All right, now let me come back and grab the prompt. Copy, paste this in, and then we'll run it. Okay, so this will take a minute. So, it'll do its thing. It's going to go research on the website. Okay, how are things on all of your ends? Are we working through the prompt? Do we have AI? Who just by like a yes or no, who's actively working through this? I'm just curious how many collaborators we have here. Oh, Diane, overachiever, has the response already. Okay, good. We have lots of people here working on it. Excellent. Okay, quick question. Which model are you using? Like, just put in the chat. Like, oh, I'm using ChatGPT 5.5, or I'm using Claude Opus 4.8, or and then what level of thinking, if is it like a extra high, is it like an ultra code, or is it like a normal thinking? What model and what thinking level are you guys using? Sonified medium, okay. Gemini, yeah, I don't know. I don't use Gemini a lot, but the Nano Banana 2 image stuff is fantastic on the Gemini side. Oh, Adam, going big with Fable 5, the final day, the last hurrah. Okay, mine's still running. Opus 4.8, also a great choice. Mine's still running. It's pulled the site, it's pulled the things that it knows about me. It's pulling some of our social proof and some of our positioning. What are my thoughts on Copilot? Copilot, I wouldn't even call it a frontier model because it's just not up to snuff yet. I think with Microsoft backing, like maybe Copilot has a future eventually. But so far, like I just don't get good enough results for me to like use Copilot as like a daily driver or anything like that. I think the benefit of Copilot is if you're in like a high security area where like everything has to run within your Microsoft 365 tenant or something like that, then I think Copilot can be a good use case where you could leverage that for your needs within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So from like a data connectivity perspective, it's good. But in terms of like model performance, I wouldn't treat it as like a best of the best model yet. Mine's still running, but I was using extra high thinking. It's using the deep research skill. So it spun up a sub agent. So it's using the deep research workflow. It's running it in the background. It's doing a 5-angle search sweep on the deep research side. So mine's probably going to take a little bit. For those of you getting responses already, how good are the responses? Are they good? Are they mind-blowing? Are they boring? Do you already know everything that they're saying? Is it smart? Is it savvy? Is it terrible? The model that you use often matters quite a bit. Mine's still running deep research. That might take a couple minutes. All right, Kyle's getting some pretty good. Kyle's getting some good responses. Adam's getting fake competitors. Connor just texted me, said deep research is going to take 25 minutes. So we might need to wait for my response. Okay, let me come back. Let me come back here to my presentation. And let me share here. Okay, so people getting responses back. The first answer is just a draft. So if you've never done this kind of competitor search before, you don't really know, like, well, what should I be expecting? Like, is it going to do a good job? Is it going to do a bad job? Is it going to actually find meaningful competitors? Is it not going to be able to find meaningful competitors? And so this first answer, like, treat it like a draft. Treat it like, hey, the model, based on your inputs, it gave you something that may or may not be what you're actually looking for. So whoever got a mediocre result just now, which Adam, I think you're in that boat. Pulling in fake competitors or people that aren't actually competitors. This is to be expected. And so now the goal is, okay, what can we do about that? So one is we can add context. So we can say, hey, those competitors, they're not actually my competitors. You used whatever, Google Places, but my firm does higher end work, and these are all kind of just run-of-the-mill companies. So that's one option for how you can add additional context. AI only knows what you tell it. And so every fact you can give it about your business, the market you're targeting, and your customer segmentation, like everything will sharpen the answer that you get back. Maybe it gave you a bad format, so you can say, hey, give me a table that I can just paste into my email. Instead of a wall of text, you can ask for a table. A lot of people like asking for like an HTML formatted output, so you can actually go, instead of just text in, text out, you can say, give it to me in a more creative format. Sometimes people ask for ASCII art. That's like ASCII art, which is like text art for like a flow chart or something. Or you can challenge the model. So, those competitors are bigger than me, find ones that are more my size. It isn't too uncommon for a first pass at a project to, you go out and try to do a thing and it comes back and it just gives you really bad results. So depending on your results, let's go through another phase. Maybe you add context, maybe you demand a certain, better format, or you challenge it in some fashion to get better results. So that's our kind of stage 2. I'm checking mine and it's still running. Yeah, Connor's right. And this might be a long haul here. So go back, talk back to the model, see if you can get better results on a phase 2 prompt. How else? How is everybody doing? Some of the competitors are not in my market, and I left out some local businesses that are. Yeah. Okay. Diane, you said you were on Claude Sonnet 5 medium. Okay. Yeah. Diane, you should go back and give it feedback. Say something exactly like this. Go back, tell it to isolate your competitors in a better fashion. Who else? How are we doing here? Sonnet 5 is still researching. Yeah, depending on the model that you used, we might go and use. Oh, it looks like the deep research harness that I was using, it did a fan out of web searches. It spun up 24 agents. This is I wonder what my usage. Wonder the usage hit that I'm getting on this. Looks like I've used 6% of my Fable usage in the last 10 minutes on this query. Just as an FYI. Oh yeah, Adam, that's a good idea. Just giving it your competitors. It looks like 23 out of the 24 agents are done on my end. So I'll finally get a response back. What about anyone else? Anyone else following along? With an update?
It's probably interesting to note that if you think your competitors, if you think your prospective clients or existing clients are using AI, they probably type a shortened version of this prompt, right? Like, hey, tell me who the competitors are of Frederico Outdoor. Tell me who the competitors are of Stage Freak AI. And the results that come up are who they're going to look at, regardless of if they're, maybe you're in luck if they find a bunch of fake competitors, because then they'll say, well, Adam's so good that AI had to invent a competitor to keep up. But also just know that as more and more people use AI, thinking about, a year from now, the behavior patterns around how people search AI are going to become more and more relevant for your business.
Okay. Looks like Adam wants to jump into more advanced workflows. How does everyone else agree? Should we move on to I mean, we can always circle back once we get results on this one. Maybe we jump into additional challenges. Okay, so I have this link, learningbydoing.vercel.app/challenges, and I can paste that in. And this has a list of 10 challenges that I put together for various ways that you can use tools directly connected into, sorry, let me share this new tab. So challenges here. So there are 4 different kind of level 1 challenges. These are things you can do with the web only. So these work in any AI assistant. There's a level 2 where you can pull in your email and calendar, you can connect things up and then start to pull data in, and there are 3 challenges associated there. And then level 3 is a little bit more advanced. You know, this is like web plus email plus calendar, all together. This is something where you might actually start to put together like a workflow or some kind of like recurring project where you could run something, you know, every single time you have a meeting, or you could run, you know, draft up all of your emails. So it starts to get into like real world use cases where you might use some kind of AI automation here. So you can navigate to this challenges page. It just has manual tracking. You know, you can go to a challenge and mark it done, and it'll mark it off. I mean, this is all just local host stuff or local storage. So these are the challenges. Again, if you're like pretty far along on the AI path already, this still might be, you know, a little bit too far on the beginner side for you. Like you've probably already connected tools into Claude or ChatGPT. And so if you need, you know, if you want to dive deeper onto something, like we can do that as well. You know, the challenge with doing some kind of, you know, live presentation is trying to cater to, you know, a vast audience where some of you might, you know, maybe you've never connected email into your email or calendar or other tools into your AI system, and others, you know, you've probably already done stuff in Claude Code, you know, building your own tools. And so, you know, we can dive deeper, or you know, dive into some of these challenges. Where are you guys right now in terms of like pace or speed? Like, do we need to turn the dial up and go more advanced, or are we good? Should we dive into some of these, you know, basic connector challenges? Yeah, on the Copilot side, if you're going to integrate Microsoft 365 stuff directly, you might need to use Copilot. So on your side, Diane, like that might be a requirement. I haven't tested any of the Microsoft 365 connectors in the other tools. They probably exist, but I haven't used them. Looks like Adam wants to push more advanced. Okay, pace is looking okay. My deep research flow is still running. So better come back with something mind-blowing. Okay, on the challenges side, if you have access and you can connect email or calendar, you know, the challenges go in and do one of these challenges. So one is like an email inbox challenge, where is a follow-up. So, you know, find some kind of open loop, you know, an email that you sent or something you promised that you never did. And then one is just a like past analysis, go look at your last 4 weeks and do some kind of analysis. On the advanced side, it's doing a little bit of like web and email, plus a little bit of like business context and calendar, all kind of in one. So you like, let's just look at the meeting one, for example. So the meeting prep pack, this is basically prepping for your next outside meeting. So it'll grab the history from your email, it'll go find any kind of news from the web, and then prep you with questions that you wouldn't think to ask. So this is like a meeting prep skill. So it has a prompt. And then as long as you have calendar connected and email connected, and you have, you know, web search connected, you can go and start to, you know, dive into how you would put together a skill to prep for your meetings. So that's the example of the meeting prep pack. But there are a number of other challenges as well. You know, Dream Client Dossier is another good example. where you can go and grab your dream customer, and with this example prompt, go research them, go research what they do, and then try to get any kind of signal that they might need that you could offer based on what they've said online, and then draft an email, and then it'll show up in your email. So that's an example of another kind of workflow where you can go directly through, and like you could start to put together something that could run on a scheduled job. So whether it's a cron job through Hermes, or whether it's something like a scheduled job through your Claude app. So these are more kind of workflow-esque, and these are a little bit more kind of just analysis. Let's pull in data and do analysis. And then these are all web-based. So the goal here is pick a challenge and dive in, whichever one seems most helpful for your business right now. Dive in, and you can, start working on that. And the goal is to kind of share back any kind of, where are you struggling? What did you find out? What worked? What didn't work? Or just like in general, like what's happening with AI in your business or in your industry, or, it's pretty free flowing. Let's see. Oh man, the deep research is going out of control. It's up to 99 agents. So it's just spinning up agents like crazy. 34 out of 99 agents done. So lesson learned, if you're going to Fable 5 extra high, it's really going beefy on me. Okay. Do we have challenges? Are these challenges relevant? Are these challenges not relevant? Can you find something that's relevant for your business? Do you have something you're working on? Do you need other ideas? Do you have other questions? I'm happy to field, if you have maybe more advanced questions, or if you're having problems, connecting or getting hooked up. How are we doing right now? You can just drop in the chat current status.
One thing I have a question on, sorry, I unmuted myself. Trying to roll Claude out to kind of the rest of my team members. Like, I'm interested in how others have solved kind of sharing skills, sharing connectors, allowing them to be, web search enabled, like what guardrails I can put in place. It seems, I need to kind of do some more research around that, I guess. So that's one challenge I have, is like, I'm the kind of power user, which is,
yep.
I'm the 1% of digging into Claude. So there's still 99% more to go. But just rolling out to the team, that's kind of a challenge, is how to, when I'm building things, just not having it be for me. Because I've got like artifacts, I've got kind of these daily things running, but just a challenge, not to be solved today. Maybe we can talk after too.
Yep. Yeah. Just a couple ideas off the top of my head. I know you can share projects, I believe. Projects, essentially, you can accumulate context within a project, and then you can share that out to other people in your org. So you kind of have a shared context base. That's like the fast, easy path, where you just, share it, and you can share it across people, and then you can build it up that way. The perhaps more complicated way is starting to like productionalize some of the things you're doing. Like, I think depending on what you're doing in your AI model, sometimes it doesn't deserve to live on your machine. It deserves to live in an app that people can access. And so then you need like data in a database, and you need, an app interface with login that your team can use. And often that tends to be the best answer in some cases, where like, you could hack around and try to figure out how to do it in other ways, via connectors or via shared projects, or, trying to share skills. But in a lot of cases, what you really need is just, you need the data in a structured format with like a dashboard that people can go and look at. So that's like a level 2, maybe. I don't know which way my levels are going, but like the easy path is like shared projects. The medium path is, well, let's just, spin up a simple app that like has all of the context and like does the workflow that I need. And then the like hard mode answer is like what you really want is like a company brain. You want like all of your context. So you want your meeting notes and you want your emails and you want your calendar and you want your CRM and you want your ERP and you want, all of your data flowing into like a company brain type environment that has like an ingestion layer. And so like the AI can intelligently like store stuff. And then you have this really, really great context layer that can then be used across your entire company. And everyone can then just plug into that context layer. So that's like the hard mode answer to the question, because AI thrives on good context. The more it knows about the client, the more it knows about the 1 hour call you had, the more it knows about the calendar, invites that you've had with them and the email exchanges you had with them. If you could funnel all of that into a company brain of sorts, then that becomes the context layer. And then all of your Claude instances can connect directly to your company brain via some kind of like MCP or some other kind of connection. Maybe it's just an API connection. And now you have a continually updating source of context that is fantastic for your entire company. So that's like the easy, medium, hard, I would say. I've done a little bit of all of those. We've done easy type of integrations with training. We've done medium level where we've taken, spreadsheet to an app layer. And then we've done like full blown integrations where, you start to build like a company brain. That's my quick answer. Ian, Fable 5 Max inside the phone app and it completed very quickly. I don't actually know if that was because you're on your phone or because I was on extra high thinking level or because I had, deep research turned on or something like that. But I think, deep research was triggered in some fashion. And so it's still, all right, I'm up to 10% usage on Fable in this one query. Okay.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I work in real estate, and we access like MLS for a lot of work, and I would love it's basic admin, like check new list, check these things, but it's password protect. Like it requires a login to get in. So I'm curious how I can still have Claude access password protected websites or get access to websites that require some sort of like user authentication.
Yep. Yeah. Great question. In terms of getting data from the web, I would say there are various levels of difficulty. So like the easiest is like, oh, we're just going to go grab some Joe Schmo website. Like there's not going to be bot protection and you can probably just, scrape something and go and scrape the data. So that's like easy mode. Medium is like, oh, I need to go and try to get, data from some website that has Cloudflare, protection in some fashion. Or then like hard mode is, I need to bypass login, or it's some kind of like bot resistant, like LinkedIn, for example. LinkedIn is very protective, or like Facebook or Meta, anything on Meta, like that's also very, very hard. There are a couple of ways to do that. So there's a tool from Meta called Manus. Manus is just a specific tool. They have really great browser agents. Like for whatever reason, they just prioritized, really awesome browser agents. And so you can spin up a browser agent and it's actually in your actual browser and you can just go navigate and like log in and then it can control your browser and like grab all the data you need. I think you can also do that. I think ChatGPT does have a connector or like a computer use. I think it's called agent mode or something like that. It's really slow. And so it's not as good as like what Manus does. To get data, but I think it's still possible. I think Claude also has some kind of computer use where it'll control your browser directly. So you essentially need to be able to go and have some kind of like agent mode or computer use where it's going to use your browser and allow you to take control of the session so that you can go and put in your credentials and then it'll continue to browse and pull the data that you want. Obviously, there are like terms of service and privacy policy things you have to worry about. In terms of like automatic data collection and things like that. This is not the legal advice. This is not web scraping advice, whatever. whatever legal caveats I need to provide here. But those are some ways to do it. There is another tool I've used called steel.dev. Steel.dev is how you would do something like this at scale. If you wanted to like build some kind of like production service, steel.dev has really great web scraping for agents and just programmatic scraping in general. I've done a million different web scraping projects and it's really, really painful. But steel.dev has a really nice kind of escalation process where you can build a steel.dev script that is then going to go and it's going to try to scrape it normally. If it fails, then it's going to kind of escalate up. And, you know, maybe you can take over the session and put in your login credentials, and then it'll save that as a session that you can then use for future calls, unless they, usually there's like a session limit. If it's like 15 or 30 minutes, then you're going to have to sign in every time. Sometimes it's a couple of weeks, so then you have time to, you know, reuse your session in across some kind of time period. So that's the default. My default response. It's not super simple, but like it's possible.
Okay. Follow-up question to that. If I can get like a daily email sent, basically the information I want can be sent via email just once a day. This is what's changed, new, etc. Is that, and then it's connected to my email, can just grab a specific email from a user or a certain address, or is there even like a mail to address where it's like this goes directly into it and it can see it, or a folder, or how would I kind of like set that? I guess it's another scraping question, but it's like I can give it to it a different way that's not password protected.
Yeah, on the email side, I mean, there are email connectors directly into Claude or ChatGPT, and you can have scheduled workflows. So I would probably just connect your email, and then I would go and say, you know, I want to create a scheduled job. I want to pull, you know, any email from this address, and I want to grab the latest one, and then I want to pull all the contents, and then I want to parse this down, you know, in whatever fashion. So that kind of like email flow can definitely work. And then you just parse that data down into some kind of structured format, or I don't know what you want to do with the data, but then you can do whatever you want with it. And then you could just set that up as like a recurring task. So for example, I have a recurring task that goes and grabs on the Twitter API. It does a bunch of searches for a specific industry, and then it grabs all of that content and then picks the things that I'm going to care the most about. I basically picked like, oh, in this industry, I care the most about tech updates, and I care the most about anything on the legal or compliance side, for example. And then it'll summarize that all down. And then I have my email connected, so then it'll just send me an email every day. And it's like my own custom newsletter brief, where now it's like, here are the news articles for the day. I have it connect to a couple APIs that grab data, and it funnels in as well. And then that's kind of like my daily report. So any kind of like email automation, like you could definitely do that.
Super cool.
What else? What else are people struggling with or wondering about or trying to? I mean, these questions have all been really good. We can go as deep as you want on the tech side.
Is there a way to see like a roadmap of what like Anthropic or some of these guys are coming down as far as like connectors? It's just kind of fly by the seat of their pants. What's next? Because like, you know, there's okay connectors on a few things, but then, you know, we're primarily a G Suite, Google Workspace for the cloud these days.
Yep.
And some of it's great, some of it's not. Like I can't create in Claude the business hive mind or whatever, because we don't use like Slack, right? And it's not connected to Google Chat. And so there's just some things that's like, I can't quite get everything to work. Some things are great. Some things I have to sign up for like Metronomics to get marketing data, because it's like, well, we don't connect to Pipedrive, but like we connect to Metronomics. So there's just a lot of, it seems like there's just a bunch of workarounds that you have to do. Like, should I be using multiple tools and not be so into Anthropic so that I can like do some Google Chat integration type stuff? Like that's where I'm kind of hitting my capacity, because I'm not a terminal user kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, Composio, great. Yeah, so we're getting some ideas here.
Yeah. I would say there are ways to like get the integrations working. It might not be like an official integration, but most things have APIs, which means that they're going to have MCPs, and so you should be able to connect to them. And so there's probably a path to like wrangling things together, but you are kind of at the whim of the whichever model company you use. So if you're building within like the Cloud ecosystem, you're kind of at their mercy in terms of like token price increases, or in terms of, I don't know, privacy stuff, or in terms of model capabilities. They don't really broadcast their roadmap because they're in a fierce, to the death competition with every other frontier model company. And so it's usually like we just find out, oh, hey, there's a new feature and it does this thing. And so, I mean, when I build things, I usually like to build things in a model agnostic fashion. So, for example, instead of connecting with like a Gmail connector in Claude, I would prefer to just connect straight to the Gmail API, because I know the Gmail API is going to be around forever. And so it's a little bit more technical. Like you have to build your own like integration or figure it out that way. And so what Kyle said, Composio is probably like a nice middle ground there. But I like to build things in a model agnostic fashion. So you can like use Claude, or you can swap it out for ChatGPT, or you could swap it out for other model providers, and then just connect directly via API to those services. So then if you want to add Slack, you just connect to the Slack API and just pull it in. Or, you just build a Slack bot or a Telegram bot or whatever. So I do a lot of custom work specifically to avoid, vendor lock-in in that fashion, which, yeah, pros and cons.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I'm on Composio right now.
How does it look?
A lot of stuff to go through, but it looks good.
Yeah, nice. My agents are still working. 82 out of 99 agents done on the deep research. We're 32 minutes in. So that's the update on my ill-advised Fable 5 workflow. Okay, what about what else from you guys? From the challenges, from maybe more specific custom questions. What's most helpful here?
I'm curious your thoughts. Chase asked a good question, and it's one that you and I have talked a little bit about, but I think it might be helpful. Is how do you get from productivity, which is super valuable for freeing up business owners' times generally, to what does it take to get from there to something directly doing work that decreases your costs or directly increases revenue? And maybe just talk about like full automation versus human in the loop on that.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. First part of the question, in terms of like ROI. So the first 2 months of this year, January and February, I was in like AI playground heaven, and I had models running nonstop all day, every day, building everything that could possibly come into my mind. And so every day was a new fun project, and I built, a ridiculous number of things. And then at the end of it, no one really cared about the cool things that I built. This is the classic entrepreneur, new entrepreneur cycle where, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then no one actually cares. And so there's a lot of this going around on social media, especially with AI hype, where they go and they do a cool thing. And then my question is always, okay, so, how much money did that make you, or how much time did that save you? Or, what are you doing now with your extra time? And so actually getting ROI from an AI initiative is not, I would say it's not intuitive. It's not like super straightforward. And I think what Connor and I have found is you have to know your business extremely well, and you have to know AI to know its capabilities and to know the current footprint of what models can and can't do. And once you know both extremely well, then you can start to identify, okay, where are the bottlenecks in my business, or, in my, personal personal life, maybe it's email, maybe it's calendar management, or whatever it is. Like, where are the bottlenecks, and how can I solve it with AI in a way that is still manageable in production? And so, it could be going from a spreadsheet to an app. It could be automating some kind of data flow. But it's leveraging AI for what AI is good at, and leveraging human judgment for where human judgment is good. So like Connor was mentioning, understanding the difference between like a fully automated workflow and something where you still have like a human in the loop type process. But yeah, I mean, that's how I would think about AI. Like, don't build things just to build things, but kind of in like an AI audit fashion. Go in and think about your business from a workflow perspective. Go in and map the individual workflows and map how long it's taking everyone to do things, and then try to kind of pull the levers on, how can we streamline this process? Or, if we go in and we 2x the productivity of our developer group, then, can our design team handle that? Can our QA team handle that? Do we even have enough product roadmap in order to kind of drive that kind of development speed? And so thinking about like how you can take AI as an incredible tool and tie it directly and like inextricably to ROI. And then how do you make that happen from a technical perspective in a way that's you're not just unleashing some rogue AI agent into production, but you have a good system in place. Let's see, from Kyle, best and highest ROI AI systems speed up human processes that are already giving you a great return. Yeah, I think that's valid. It looks like I'm 99 out of 100 agents done. Just giving you all the update on my Fable 5 query. Okay, maybe.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Do you see a future where most businesses go towards like locally hosted models instead of the enterprise ones?
Yeah, great question. I think there's, at least historically, there's been a 6 to 12 month lag between frontier models and open source models. I think it used to be closer to 12 months. I think now we might be kind of inching that closer. Maybe it's only 6 months. We've seen some really good local source or open source models come out recently. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on the frontier models because in most cases, you don't need, the beefiest, like, did I need Fable 5 highest level thinking for my competitor query? I think the answer is no. Did I need 100 deep research agents to go out for this question? No, like that was overkill. And so if you look at some companies, the number of tokens they're using is going up, but their cost is going down, especially over the last 3 months. And that's because they're optimizing their agent stack for the frontier models for where they really need it the most. And then they're using either an open source model that they're running locally, or they're using some smaller model for the tasks that could be run on smaller models. And so I think the future is understanding model capability and matching the model to the task. And so I think open source models, like there are open source model maxis out there that like went and, bought a Mac Mini or like paid, $30,000 on some crazy AI setup. And I think that the cost effectiveness is probably okay on that, depending on, if you have models running nonstop, like that's probably an okay investment. But I do think that open source models are going to catch up. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on the frontier models. Like, I think they're going to want to increase prices and stop subsidizing tokens, but how can they increase prices when there's so much competition coming up from the bottom? So I don't know. It might just be a bloodbath. Like,
I would hate to be them right now, seriously.
I think too, everyone wants like the tool that can do it all. And what I mean by that is a lot of the frontier models are getting better at thinking, but the largest thing is humans are inherently bad at explaining themselves. And so one of the reasons these frontier models are so much better is they're really good at guessing what your intent is. So when I say, hey, research my company and all its competitors, a frontier model is going to think a little longer about what does Connor actually want when he says that, where a model that's not as capable might not. But I think right now everyone wants to drive that functionality into everything that's around the model, the harness. And as open source harnesses get better, cheaper models will be better at understanding human intent. And so, when I say, hey, when I think it was Alex said, hey, I wanted to tell me all these things I need to know about my business. The models, the open source and the cheaper models are just going to get better and better at the squishy stuff around the actual work, which is just, like I said, I think we as humans are always trying to be better at explaining what we want and why. And that is painful when you're typing in a chatbot to an AI model, like being very specific the way you might with a newer employee. Well, Bob, I know we've got 3 or 4 minutes. Chase, I think you said you wanted the last 5 minutes. Bob and I are happy to share our emails for anyone that has more questions, or if you ever get stuck on something, feel free to shoot us an email and we are happy to help you out.
Agreed. Let me share my screen here, Bob. Bob, Connor, that was awesome. Thanks for being so hands-on and just doing a screen share, spinning up 90 agents. I was checking, you didn't shut down Claude, but I'm sure you came close. Servers are still up on their side. Guys, really cool. So I want to just thank again Bob and Connor and Adam for bringing this together. Adam's, like I mentioned, a really close friend of mine. He's in one of our peer groups here at Durable. He's been part of Durable for a long time. And so thanks to you, Adam, for bringing this together. Bob, Connor, just to put a finer point on that, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they do want to keep the discussion going?
Yeah, I just dropped our emails in the chat. It's just Bob at sagecreek.ai or Connor at sagecreek.com. And you can email us. I mean, we're happy to chat, even if it's just about, musings about the future of AI, or, as deep as, building lots of custom infra. I mean, we do kind
Awesome.
of the full stack. So yeah, happy to help.
That's great. Well, stay tuned for the next AI workshop webinar series. We like to change them up. We did one that was very marketing focused 2 months ago. We did this one with Sage Creek. We have another one in the works for next month. So keep an eye on our event calendar. I want to plug 3 events we have going on next week. They're some of our better events that we've done in the past few months. We have a peer roundtable on Wednesday, July 15th. This is essentially a 2-hour by application or by invite only event where 2 business owners bring like the biggest challenge that they're working through, and it's a peer advisory session. So if you want to be an advisor or you've got a challenge that you're working through and you want to bring it in front of a group of peers in kind of a discreet, quiet environment, that's our peer roundtable event. Our last 2 were oversubscribed. We have to say no to more people than we could let in. It was a phenomenal event. Both CEOs left with some clarity, and I think it's always fun to give back and play the role of advisor, especially when it's not your problem, when it's someone else's problem that you can hopefully help solve. So that's Wednesday, July 15th, from 3 to 5 p.m. actually, and it's a private venue. Submit an application if you're interested, and we will let you in if we have space. We have a really fun event over at Edison House, Thursday, July 16th. It's essentially a live deal review. So we're going to be reviewing a handful of live deals on how to acquire a company. And we're going to have 4 serial acquirers, Reed Tileston, Dave Gilbert, Ryan Condi, John Dudash, all moderate the discussion, but we'll be kind of sharing an active deal that is for sale, maybe not active, but a real deal that has been listed for sale. And you get to listen to 4 serial acquirers chop it up live and talk through the pros and cons. We'll have audience interaction. So it'll be a really great event. This one's coming up to capacity. So hop on and RSVP if you haven't already. The last one, this is one of my favorites, the Business Owner Hiking Series. A couple of business owners, we're going up on Friday, July 17th. We're hiking the Secret Lake Trail. You can RSVP to any of those on, I just want to have a slide there, on builddurable.co/events if any one of these 3 events Sounds interesting. They're all happening next week, so it's a big event week for Durable. Last announcement is Durable is launching a third peer group. And if you're not familiar, peer groups meet monthly. It's essentially your advisory board, your board of directors that can't fire you. It's a group of business owners, CEOs, founders who get interviewed, apply, and are vetted, and you join a group that meets monthly where you get to bring hard calls, challenges to the group, get to know a group of entrepreneurs really well over the course of hopefully many years. You can learn more about that at builddurable.co/peer groups. And with that, those are all of the Durable announcements that we have. So thank you again to Bob and Connor at Sage Creek. That wraps up today's workshop. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate y'all joining.